Other questions to Maria? Yes, Paul, please.
First of all, to apologize that my mobile phone went off. I am an idiot when it comes to technology. That's my only excuse. But I'm interested particularly in your sustainability agenda. This is something that we in Botanic Gardens are trying to get to grips with at the moment as well. Particularly doing an audit of best practice around the world looking at sustainability. So the directors of large gardens in the US at the moment are Richard Piacentini is leading a review of best practice in sustainability around botanic gardens and public gardens to try to bring these together to scale it all up. And I'm interested to hear whether you would be doing something similar or what this will look like.
Well, this was a work. I'm a member of the Sustainability Committee, and we've been working in make a guide for our organization how we can support the sustainability ODS. But we can use for everyone, for botanical gardens and for museums and for any company that they want to know what they can do it in the everyday, but because the people doesn't understand how they can apport to the ODCs.
Maria, congratulations for your speech.
Thank you.
I want to know, in relation with the speech of the Cardinal, how many different groups, Indians or cultures you have in Colombia?
Well, like I told you, we have a lot. And I want to take advantage and give a little information about Colombia because the most people doesn't know how our country works. We've been having very difficult things since many years ago because our topographic is very hard. We have 3 lines of mountains. And in all this area and region, we have different Indian groups all around the country from the south through the north. Like I say, we almost are 87 different ethnic groups. So it's a high biodiversity. And we have a lot of problems with the Indians. They believe that they are the owners of the Colombia, so they close the ways, and we have a lot of trouble sometimes with the Indians.
A very good solution in relation with the Constitution and the special laws that have these different communities, no? You accepted that these communities have a special govern and special rules?
Yes, and we've been working with the Indians, and they doesn't, that the Constitution and the regular laws in our country doesn't work for them. They have their own laws, and they do whatever they want. There are differences, but this is the way that works in our country.
Theo.
I just have a general recommendation. I would like to ask you to make sure that we all can get the PowerPoint presentations, not only the written stuff. That will be very good for us. Thank you.
If speakers agree, you will get them. Maria Clara, I have a rather broad question. You mentioned that zoos can play an important role to direct resources to in situ conservation, and this should be the largest resource commitments for protecting biodiversity. How does this work in your environment, in particular in Colombia?
Well, in the case of the Cali Zoo, we've been working with in area that called Puracé. There is very rich area where are the highlands, the paramos with very special species like a mountain tapir, spectacled bird, and jaguar, and puma. And this area is a national park. And the people that live in this area, the Indians, they call the Cali Zoo and ask if we can support them in order to teach them how to handle a tourist group, because this is a very nice area and they have a lot of visitors. So in this moment, we are working with them to empower them in order to receive all tourists, and we are doing like the signs for the road that the tourists have to say, the guide that the people have to telling the people that go in ecotourismo, and we are working and empower them for do that. So in this case, they can use this national park and get something for his living. Otherwise, they are growing cocaine or whatever, and they have cattle eating the paramo. So this is the way that we can work together in order to preserve in situ fauna and region and area.
I have a follow-up question, which is even broader. Your previous president has argued that Colombia should move towards a bio-based economy after the conflict in order to develop rural areas, a bioeconomy, in order to prevent cocaine growing, but also in order to facilitate ecotourism and use nature. What came of this concept, and is there a holistic concept that benefits people and environment, both of that? Can you argue about that and tell us what's the state of affairs?
Well, this is the this is like the wish that we want for our country, but in this moment with the big area that we have with cocaine, is very difficult, because you can compare nothing to sell cocaine. You know, you can do nothing because you get a lot of money in order to grow cocaine, and this is a big issue for us now. So I don't think we can have very nice ideas. I mean, we wanted that Colombia will be a special place for ecotourism, because we are a very beautiful country, but our problem now is we have more than 200,000 hectares of cocaine in this moment in the south part of Colombia. So until this business, you can do nothing. They don't want to change it for nothing. So it will be a challenge for our government.
Some more questions? Yes, John.
Thank you very much for that talk. One of the things that I was thinking about, you mentioned that you were willing to reinvent yourself as a zoo, and we talked earlier over lunch about bringing in a botanic garden. Just for everyone to know, I work at San Diego Zoo Global, but I'm a botanist. And so I often think of our zoo being a fantastic botanic garden with an amazing animal collection. But I was wondering what your thoughts were on what it means to reinvent and become something else, particularly from the concern we have for outside influence and criticism of maintaining animal collections. I'm again in San Diego, and we're right next door to SeaWorld. And many of you may have known over the last few years from the bad publicity that came about after a documentary on their handling of marine mammals and what that did for that company. So similarly, zoos face daunting challenges in terms of being organizations that maintain animals, but our ideal is that we're conservation organizations first. So my question to you is what it means to reinvent, and how willing are zoos, how willing are we going to go towards something else, and what does that mean?
Okay, the Cali Zoo opened like in 1970s for the Pan American Games, and 10 years later, the city will close the zoo because it was in very bad condition. And at this time, private people from the city say, how Cali can handle a zoo? So they start with the Cali Zoological Foundation just for handle and running a zoo. But in the last 10 years, the thing's been doing very well, and the city, if we want to receive first a very, very nice place that used to have a hacienda, like a very nice house, and we restored it, and now we have a very fancy restaurant. It's a new business that I handle. It's very famous and the most amazing restaurant that is inside the zoo, but the people have to go for another way. The people from the zoo can go to this very nice hacienda. And 2 years ago, we started working with authority, with the corporation of CBC, there is the Valle del Cauca Environmental Authority, and they offered to us to administrate the wetland that we have like 1 hour from city. There is La Laguna de Sonso. Sonso is a very nice wetland, and we are doing a work, very hard work also with the people that live there. In the beginning, they don't want it that the Cali Zoo be in there because they say, no, that you will steal our money or whatever, and now they're very happy with us. We've been working very well with the people of the Laguna de Sonso. And also, 8 months ago, the people from Puracé, they call up if they want to work with them. And we are doing Puracé, Laguna de Sonso, the Botanical Garden. The corporation, they offered to us in order to administrate 1.5 years ago. So I am the CEO of the Cali Zoological Foundation that born for be an institution to administrate a zoo, and now we are administrating a zoo, and botanical garden, a wetland, and a very nice restaurant. So we changed. It was hard, especially the last 4 years, because we need to change all my team, and we have a lot of people, and we grow very fast in few time, so I have a lot of work.
Thank you very much. I would like to make a remark, especially to SeaWorld, because this is often used as an example that zoos reacted to the outside pressure, and that when orcas are the first ones, and dolphins, and elephants, and apes, and so on, so on. It was a very interesting reaction from the then new CEO of SeaWorld after he said, okay, we stop breeding orcas. The reaction was, this is good for the shareholder value. That means this decision was made on economical facts, but not on scientific-based facts that you can keep orcas in human care, which is not the problem. So this was a little bit discouraged in our views. You know, that was too easy. And that is sometimes a problem when you have an institution, a cultural institution like a zoological garden, when the last decisions are made by I have to be careful now, by non-zoologists or non-veterinarians, not people coming from the natural science. I do not know how in the other communities if you face the same thing. This afternoon we run a little bit out of time, but there was a very interesting question from Bruno, and which I wrote down. I would like to say something about. You asked about the comparison about native species to exotic species in zoos. I would like to give you an example from my zoo. We are right now supporting 11 release programs with animals born or hatched in our zoo of native species, like European swamp turtle, Ural owl, little owl, bald ibis, European mink, European wildcat, and so, golden eye duck, and so on. You know what all these animal species have together? They are either gray, black, nocturnal, and they have empty exhibits during the day. So if I have only empty exhibits in my zoo, and what I told in my report is, the people decide to come to us to see animals. You cannot tell them, oh, well, when you came 3 hours earlier this morning at 4 o'clock, it would be nice you could have seen this. You can afford perhaps 1 or 2 exhibits like this, but you cannot afford a whole zoo like that. Then you do not have the visitors, and how I said, then you are not based anymore in the community, and then it doesn't work. So the people come to us to see the elephants. I know this. But these people pay an entrance fee, and they enable my zoo to support these breeding programs on the so-called niche animals, which you cannot see usually. So it is a kind of, you have to find a way, each one in its own framework. I just wanted to mention this to your question this afternoon.
I'll answer you. It's just because I noticed that people are just generally not so well aware of what is going on close to them, relatively close to them. They are surprised, for example, in the zoo in Paris, we have just otters, ordinary otters, and people say, oh, those animals are living in France. So they could be surprised by relatively ordinary species that are living around. And from that, they can take care of some environmental questions just close to the place they live. That's that. But of course, if you have only night animals, you have to open your zoo at night, and it's not so nice, because you have also to have a business model in the zoo, an economic model, and we have to sustain the economic model too. I know that too well.
Should I close or won't you close?
I would like to thank the 2 communities who have spoken today and contributed immensely to our learning. At least I can say that for myself. The Natural History Museums community, and this afternoon the Zoological Gardens community. We owe you a lot for assembling this wonderful set of panels. That you brought your expertise here to the Pontifical Academy of Sciences is greatly appreciated. We have an exciting day before us, and I would like to ask you, those of you who haven't yet picked up the statement, read it overnight, hand it back. It's only 2.5 pages. You, I think, have forgotten your bedtime reading to bring with you to Rome. And if you have any comments which make you feel especially uncomfortable, let me know, or any of the 3 co-organizers, Johannes, Thomas, and Peter, tomorrow. And then we will take that certainly into account in revising the manuscript. I ask you to enjoy your evening and to give a big hand to all the speakers of this afternoon. Thank you very much.